Now we've got the inputs, outputs, and model we're going to use ready to go. We can start to put them together. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is, well, one of the things to remember is there's many ways of building a model in TensorFlow. But one of the best ways to get started is to use the TensorFlow Keras API, which is a recent addition to TensorFlow 2.0. So if we go TensorFlow Keras, we just Google that. There we go, Keras, TensorFlow Core. Here we go. TF Keras is TensorFlow's high-level API for building and training deep learning models. That is what we're after. It's used for fast prototyping, state-of-the-art research, and production with three key advantages. User-friendly, yes. Modular and composable, yes. Easy to extend. This will probably be a good resource to link. I'll link this in the resources section. It's another little bit of homework for yourself, is to just have a read through this after this video, maybe go through it for about 10 minutes or so. The question I want to ask, and leave a message in the Discord or the Q&A, is what is the difference between Keras sequential and where is functional? And functional. So that's what I want to know. The difference between the Keras sequential API and the functional API. As a spoiler, we're going to be using the sequential. So go through the Keras TensorFlow Guide Keras overview for 10 minutes, and the question you got to answer, the difference between sequential and functional API. But let's not waste any time there. Let's get hands-on with the code. And the beautiful thing about Keras is that defining a deep learning model can be as straightforward as saying, hey, here's the layers of the model, aka, let me go back to this little graphic. When I say layers, often in a neural network, these are what are referred to as layers. So you'll have an input layer, which will be here, aka this one. Then you'll have some sort of other layer here, which is often referred to as a hidden layer, which is going to find some patterns, and then an output layer. So that's what I mean by layers. And so in Keras, it's kind of as easy as going, hey, here are the layers of the model, the input shape, the output shape. Let's go. So let's create a function that does that. So what we might do is write out. We'll make a little markdown cell, change this into markdown. Now we've got our inputs, outputs, and model ready to go. Let's put them together into a Keras deep learning model. Wonderful. Now, remember how right at the start we said we want to start getting functional about what we're doing? So we could write out the code line by line, but we're going to put it into a function. So we go, knowing this, let's create a function which, if we go here, takes the input shape, output shape, and the model we've chosen as input, or as parameters, that's probably a better word to say. And we go defines the layers in a Keras model in a sequential fashion, aka do this first, then this, then that. So it's just like a linear step-by-step process. Here's the inputs, here's the middle layer, here's the output layer. So just running sequentially from left to right, or in deep learning, you often run like from top to bottom. We'll see that in a moment. And then we go here, compiles the model, says how it should be evaluated and improved. We haven't seen that one before. That's a new term, don't worry, we're going to go through it. And then we want to builds the model, tells the model the kind, or the input shape better, that's better, the input shape it'll be getting. And then finally returns the model. That's a fair few steps in there, but we can do it. And if you're wondering where I got this one from, builds the model, we can come up here into, oh, we closed it. So tf hub.dev. If we go here, back to MobileNet v2, This is that step there, m.build. But we'll see this in a moment. And if you're wondering where any of these other steps are, you could pause this video and have a read through this. Even if it doesn't make sense, don't worry, because we're going to code it up in a second. Have a read through this and then come back here. If not, if you don't want to read through that, we'll just keep going with the code here. We'll go here. All of these steps can be found here. This is just a way of documenting for our own sake. All right, so let's write the code first, and then we'll discuss each part. I think that's a better way to go. So create a function which builds a Keras model. So def create model. This is our own custom function. This is what we want to get used to writing. So it's going to take input shape, which is just there. Wonderful. Output shape equals output shape. And then it's going to take model URL. This is handy because if we wanted to change the model we were using, we could just update the model URL variable. And if we wanted to similarly change the input shape and the output shape, we could also change those later on. So print, we just want to find out what model we're using. So let's go building model with just the model URL here. And now we're going to set up the model layers. So model equals tf.keras.sequential. And then we want to write hub.keras layer. And we're going to pass it model URL. So this is layer 1, the input layer. And then after that, we want to do tf keras.layers.dense, and then the number of units equals our output shape. And the activation, which is a word you probably haven't heard before, equals softmax. Layer 2, this is the output layer. Now, just bear with me. If you don't understand it, that's all right. We're going to go through it. This is just practicing writing the code. I'd like that to be over here, actually. I have a strange feeling Colab uses 2 spaces instead of 4 spaces, but we'll find out in a moment. There we go. That looks a bit better. So without even discussing what's going on there, I want you to just have, oh, actually, that looks a bit better if it's over here. That's a bit more Pythonic. I just want you to have a think about what's happening here. And if you wanted to help your thought process, don't forget, you can always read through here. So now we want to compile the model. Again, a term we haven't heard, but we're going to discuss these shortly. So compile, we just want to get used to writing this sort of code. So this is just instantiating a model. And this is putting the model together essentially. So keras.losses.categorical cross entropy. Wow, that's a big word. It's all right if it's confusing. tf.keras, the optimizer. What is an optimizer? .atom. Atom. And then metrics. This one will be familiar for sure because we're working with classification. Accuracy. Whew. And then finally, we want to build the model. So model.build input shape. And then we're going to return model. So now, let's run the code. If in doubt, run the code. So model equals create model. We can use all of the default parameters. And then we're going to go model.summary. Building model. Shows us our URL. Oh, what have we missed here? No attribute optimizer. Optimizers. There we go. What else have we got wrong? Oh! What is this? We haven't seen this before. In fact, a lot of this we haven't seen before. But we're going to end this video on a little bit of a cliffhanger, because in the next one we're going to go through this and discuss it. But in the meantime, I'd like you to rewrite this at a bare minimum for yourself and to have a think about what's going on here. Also check out this. What do you think we've done here? And after you've written the code and after you've gotten this output, read a little bit through here, especially the sequential model section, and see if you can relate it back to what we're doing here. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video and we'll go through what's happening here.